Serengeti Rossow. 3 years of drought. The middle of August, the corn is hardly waist high. Marks of the planter are still visible from April. There's been no rain. Wolf tracks are still seen, but the grass is in extremely bad shape. This field used to be knee-high to a cow, and maybe 500 cows grazed on these pastures. Shortly after this film was made, the grass was cut and now it's all bleached out white dirt ground. The drought has eliminated all animals, birds, frogs, mice. There's nothing hardly left alive to see as you drive through the countryside. Quite different from years past. The dirt road leaves big, deep tracks in what is very sandy ground. And the trees have suffered also, with oak trees and hardwood trees and softwood trees just drying up and dying, and the wind breaking them off and blowing them to the ground. This old ponderosa pine, a really pretty tree, has practically no foliage on it anywhere except right at the very tip top. Surely it won't last much longer. And sometimes the wind just blows them sideways, but with this being a ponderosa pine, maybe it just grew that way. The sky was dark and the wind was heavy from April through August. August was the first real sunshine that we saw, and the wind blowing made it extremely hard to film. The German railroad decided to make improvements and remove all the trees along the side, and that's how it looks today. The earlier shot was 2 years ago. With so much crop failure, many farmers have given up their land to the electric company, and here they are planning a great big solar park called the Rossow Solar Park. And behind that, on the other side of the street, are probably 350 to 400 windmills that stretch for kilometers and kilometers. The park is still in the building process, and the solar panels have not been put on yet, as the fence isn't all the way around it to prevent thieves from helping themselves to the solar panels. The undergrowth in the woods has suffered greatly too. Earlier you couldn't see a car parked in there. There's practically nothing left for the animals to eat. Due to COVID-19, we did all of our nature filming in the backyard this year. There's a great shortage of bees and other insects in Germany. The blue ticks and black ticks, or yellow ticks, had a virus early in the year and it killed them all off. We let the grass grow the entire summer without cutting it to try and help out the bees and the bugs and even the birds, but there was, as you can see, practically nothing to be seen the whole summer. A couple of butterflies and a couple of bees, but certainly not what it's been in years past. We decided to sow a lot of wildflower seeds through the whole backyard, as well as some regular plants, and decided to see what would happen and what would come up from the seeds that were sown, and many of them were very, very, very pretty. This is the front of the house. All of the flowers got watered daily, but in the backyard, some of the plants suffered from water. Watered our garden, watered the bigger areas of wildflowers. Pretty wild rose growing along the fence. Some of these wildflowers are very extremely small. This is probably the size of your little fingernail. One man's weed is another man's flower, and I certainly do like the wildflowers that everybody seems to call weeds, especially the poppies. The wind blew like this from April until early August. Just every day. It made filming and shooting still pictures almost impossible without an extremely high shutter speed. One of the few bugs that we did manage to see in the backyard. It's really an interesting bug. I don't know if it was some kind of water scorpion or not. But anyway, many of the pictures became blurred, even shooting at a shutter speed of 1,000th of a second just due to the constant wind. This is one of the wild bees. You can tell them by the white rear ends. They're not honeybees. They don't make a hive. They live individually, usually in a hole in the ground. Just one bee to one hole. And this is probably one of 3 butterflies that we're seeing the entire summer long. Last year these flowers were covered up with butterflies and bees and little wasps, etc. But the drought has taken out so much, I wonder how many years it will take for it to recover. We have no songbirds. Occasionally a starling will land in the backyard, but it's gone immediately. I was really surprised that the birds have not covered up my waterfall area in the pond. This is a thistle. We decided to let it grow and see what it really looked like at the end of its life, and it turned out to be a really massive plant that was cut down before it scattered through the whole yard. Those leaves are very sharp. And these wildflowers are very small, probably the size of your thumb. The little morning glory seems to do really well in extremely dry ground. And we were surprised at how many of the wildflowers actually did grow and reproduce. We collected the seeds as they turned to seed. Sow it again next year. Maybe there'll be more bugs. Most people don't like bugs or bees, but they're necessary to produce the food that we eat. Without the bugs and bees, about 2/3 of the stuff in the supermarket would not be there. The magnification of the macro lens makes these flowers look a lot bigger than what they really are. They're just really minuscule. Hardly any of them are much bigger than your thumbnail. Early in the year, Froggy was missing for 7 full days. We didn't know what happened to him, but it did return and gave some nice shots. He's our house frog. A lot of people have dogs and cats, but we have a frog. Some of the lily pads were really beautiful in their different colors. The goldfish in the pond had a really big time. I thought they were going to tear up the lily pads during their spawning period, but everything seemed to survive. They get really wound up and get to carrying on. I guess like teenagers, I don't know. you enjoyed a look at our backyard during COVID-19. Hopefully this disease will be past and be able to get back out and make some real film again. Thanks for watching. Have a great summer.